Oh, I put out a video recently about like what it takes to be a successful presidential candidate or whatever. And so people were very mad about what I had to say. Because I pointed out that like presidential elections are entirely popularity contests. Yeah, and it's true. Presidential elections are entirely popularity contests. And there was a bit of an uproar in the comment section. I didn't get too many comments, but the comments I did were pretty negative. They were roasting me pretty heavily. They're very mad. And I kind of understand that, because from my perspective, I wish that, this wasn't the case. I wish that presidential elections weren't popularity contests, because, especially if you look at both the Republican Party primaries and the Democratic Party primaries, which I do, there are some really interesting ideas put forth. There's some very interesting candidates, that run for office. But, the people with the best ideas don't win. The people who win have the most Rizz. And I think that maybe people didn't entirely understand what I meant. So I'll explain it a little bit clearer so that the people in the back or the people who are maybe a little bit, behind the rest of us can understand kind of what I'm saying at. I'm not saying that, you've got to be hot, right, to win an election. It helps, but any of the elections, I don't think, maybe except for the 2016, except for the 2016 election, Trump would have won any of those elections if physical appearance was the main factor there. So what I mean when I say that a presidential candidate has to have Rizz in order to be successful is that they have to have charisma. They must be charismatic. You have to like walk into a room and command the attention of the other people there, right? If you can do that, then you can be president of the United States, regardless of what you say, right? So that's part of it. But also, it's not just in your stage presence, right? Because everybody, I think, knows that there is a presidential personality that certain candidates have. That's all part of the Rizz. But it's not just that. It's also how you speak and, to a degree, what you say. Now, what you say doesn't entirely matter. You can have two people essentially say the same things and have entirely different policies behind those statements. But what matters is you have to speak to what people care about the most in the way that connects with them, right? So, like, for example, let's say that you have a policy of lowering taxes, right? You have a policy of lowering taxes. So, what you could say is, I want to help make it easier for businesses to flourish in the United States of America. You could say that. That'll only resonate with half of the country. You could also say, I want to lower costs for all Americans. Now, there we go. That's something that will connect with all members of the United States of America, right? So essentially, when I say that, you have to have Rizz to be a successful presidential candidate, I'm not saying that you've got to be like, super hot and like attractive, which helps, but you have to have a presidential personality and also speak to the people of the United States that addresses the concerns that they have, not necessarily even with policies, but you just have to make them feel like you care. Right? You care about what they're going through and you're going to fix the problems that they see. Trump did that pretty well. I think Biden did that to an extent. But I think that the election of Biden was also in part a response to Trump actually failing to do that well to a certain portion of the United States of America. And then Trump winning the election in 2024 was kind of a response to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden together failing to do that as well. So I think, 2016, I think, was a little bit more indicative of the desires of the United States of America than 2020 and 2024, although they're not useless, right? 2020 kind of showed us that, Americans will only take abrasive politics for so long, and then 2024 said, we will take abrasive politics over what we view to be an ineffective government. Yeah. So there are like, you know, certainly things underneath the surface that are factors as to why people run for president, but a very high people win the presidential election, but at a very high level, it's about the Rizz, man. It's all about the Rizz. You don't see Rizzless presidents. You just don't, right?